The mystery of Jesse Galganov. The disappearance of Jesse Galganov remains one of the most haunting and perplexing missing persons cases in recent years. Jesse, a 22-year-old Canadian and recent graduate of Wesleyan University, vanished in September 2017 while on a solo backpacking trip through South America. His plan was to travel through South America and Asia before returning home to begin medical school. Independent, bright, and well-prepared, Jesse arrived in Huaraz, Peru, intending to hike the Santa Cruz Trek, a renowned 4-day route through the breathtaking yet rugged Cordillera Blanca mountain range. On September 28, 2017, Jesse was last seen at a hostel in Huaraz. He sent a final message to his mother, Elisa Claman, letting her know he would be out of contact for a few days while trekking. From there, he reportedly boarded a Colectivo, a shared taxi, to the Vaqueria trailhead. His phone last pinged near the village of Lupa, a small stop along the route. After that, all traces of Jesse disappeared. Following his disappearance, several hikers and local guides reported seeing a young man matching Jesse's description along the trail. A French backpacker claimed to have seen someone resembling Jesse near the Punta Union Pass, a particularly high and challenging part of the trek. However, none of these sightings could be verified with photographic evidence or detailed witness accounts. The ambiguity of these reports only added to the growing mystery surrounding Jesse's whereabouts. The search effort, driven by the tireless determination of his mother, became an international mission. Elisa Claman mobilized a large-scale response, hiring private investigators, search and rescue teams, and coordinating with Peruvian authorities. The rugged and expansive terrain of the Andes made the search difficult, but it included drones, helicopters, and search dogs. Despite the exhaustive efforts and resources, no trace of Jesse, his gear, or any belongings was ever recovered. Several theories have emerged regarding what may have happened to Jesse. The most immediate assumption is that he may have suffered an accidental fall in a remote area of the trail and became unreachable. Others have pointed to the possibility of foul play, citing occasional reports of robbery along certain remote hiking paths in the region. A darker theory suggests a forced disappearance, yet, without any evidence, all theories remain speculative. Today, Jesse Galganov remains missing. The mystery of Harley Warren Morris. The mysterious disappearance of Harley Warren Morris continues to haunt the city of Tyler, Texas, and those who knew and loved him. Harley was just 29 years old when he vanished under puzzling circumstances in the early morning hours of January 21, 2024. A native of Florida, Harley had been living in Tyler with his father, Bill Morris, at the time of his disappearance. Their bond was described as deeply close and uniquely strong. More than just father and son, they were best friends and inseparable companions. Harley's life was one rooted in simplicity and affection. He had a passion for nature, enjoying activities like fishing and gardening. In fact, before he went missing, he had already selected the seeds he intended to plant in the spring. He worked alongside his father at Prime 102, a local steakhouse, and was regarded as a talented chef. When his father was injured working at another restaurant, Breakers, Harley stepped in and proved he had natural skill in the kitchen. He was known to be reliable and responsible, not the kind of person to vanish without a word. His character was one of compassion and strength. His mother, Wendy Morris, described him as loving and thoughtful, someone who carried himself with quiet sincerity. His brother, Taylor Attaway, admired Harley deeply, calling him someone who always built others up and never hesitated to say what he meant. There were no known issues with substances or unstable behavior. However, earlier in life, Harley had been involved in a road rage incident with his mother, during which he was shot in the hip. The bullet remained lodged in his body, a reminder of a past trauma that never fully left him. The events surrounding his disappearance began late Saturday night, January 20th, when Harley and some friends decided to unwind after a long shift by visiting Sports Zone, a local bar and grill they frequented on weekends. At some point during the night, Harley separated from his friends and eventually ended up at 50 Grand Club, an after-hours venue located on North Grand Avenue near Texas College. It was, according to his family, his first time ever visiting the establishment. His friend had driven him there, and security footage captured Harley in the club's parking lot around 3 a.m, stumbling slightly as if disoriented. After that, he seemingly vanished. No one saw him leave, and no additional security footage has been made public. His father, growing concerned when Harley failed to show up for work and couldn't be reached, reported him missing the following day. It was noted that Harley had left his phone at home, something he often did, which complicated search efforts. Tips began to surface, suggesting that he may have been seen near the Glass Recreation Centre on the north side of Tyler, though it is unclear whether these sightings were confirmed. In response, local authorities asked residents and business owners in the area between Gentry Parkway and North Loop 323 to review any surveillance footage or doorbell cameras between 3 and 7 in the morning of Harley's disappearance. The lack of solid leads, witnesses, or physical evidence has left Harley's family in a state of agonizing uncertainty. Despite media coverage and social media awareness campaigns, the trail has gone cold. The circumstances of his disappearance, leaving a club he had never been to before, without his phone, and vanishing without a trace, have led to growing concern and speculation. To this day, Harley Warren Morris remains missing. What happened to Gabriella Rico Jimenez? The mysterious case of Gabriella Rico Jimenez has resurfaced in recent months, capturing widespread attention online and reigniting speculation about her shocking public breakdown and subsequent disappearance. The incident occurred in August of 2009 in Monterrey, Nuevo León, Mexico, in front of a luxury hotel located on Ocampo Street, between Cuauhtémoc Avenue and Pino Suárez. A local news broadcast captured the disturbing scene. A woman, barefoot and clearly distressed, screaming for help. She identified herself as Gabriella Rico Jimenez and claimed she had been held against her will. What made the footage particularly unsettling was the nature of her accusations. In her frantic state, Gabriella named several high-profile figures, alleging that she had been victimized by powerful individuals linked to the global elite. Her repeated cries for freedom and her insistence that she was being silenced by people in positions of immense influence immediately drew attention. Viewers were both disturbed and intrigued by her composure, which fluctuated between desperation and lucid commentary on a hidden power structure. Her accusations were vague, but she appeared convinced that she was being targeted for what she knew or had experienced. The fact that she made these statements in broad daylight, in a busy area, in front of cameras, suggests a desperate attempt to expose something before it was too late. What happened next only deepened the mystery. Shortly after the incident was broadcast, Gabriella Rico Jimenez disappeared. No official explanation was ever given, and her name faded from mainstream media. This silence has led to rampant speculation on the internet, where users have begun dissecting the footage and building theories about what may have happened to her. Some believe she was institutionalized, while others suspect foul play. Her sudden vanishing act, especially after naming influential figures, has fueled theories about suppression, cover-ups, and the reach of global power networks. The resurfacing of her story on platforms like YouTube and Reddit has reignited public interest in her case. Clips from the original news broadcast have gone viral, with people demanding answers about her fate. Mysterious footprint. In 2018, a photograph began circulating on Facebook that quickly caught the attention of researchers and curious viewers alike. The image, allegedly taken in Oklahoma during a snowy winter day, appeared to show a massive footprint in the snow, one that many claimed belonged to the elusive creature known as the Dogman. In the photograph, someone had placed their boot next to the print for scale, and the comparison was striking. The mysterious track was clearly larger than the boot, with distinct impressions that resembled clawed toes and a deep heel, far too large to belong to any known wild animal native to the area. As the image gained traction, so too did stories from locals in Oklahoma and surrounding regions. Several individuals came forward, recounting encounters with a creature described as half man, half dog, upright, heavily muscled, and covered in dark fur. These accounts matched classic descriptions of the Dogman, a mysterious creature that has long been whispered about in American folklore. Witnesses described the creature as having glowing eyes, canine-like features, and an ability to move unnaturally fast, often vanishing into wooded areas without a trace. The photograph was quickly shared across paranormal groups online, with viewers debating its authenticity and possible explanations. While skeptics argued that the print could belong to a large canine or be the result of snow distortion, Believers pointed to the surge in Dogman sightings during that same time period as compelling evidence. Some even suggested that the photo was part of a larger pattern of unexplained phenomena occurring in rural parts of Oklahoma. Despite the debates, the image remains one of the more intriguing visual pieces associated with the Dogman legend and continues to fuel speculation about what may be lurking in the forests and fields of America's heartland. Mysterious trail cam photo. In southern Georgia, a trail camera intended for tracking local wildlife has become the source of growing speculation after capturing a mysterious image deep within the woods. The photograph, shared by a local hunter on social media, quickly began making its rounds through paranormal communities. While the image is admittedly grainy and obscured by shadows, one detail immediately caught the attention of viewers: the outline of what appears to be a large humanoid figure moving through the trees. The form seems to be upright, bipedal, and significantly larger than a human, with an imposing build that doesn't match any known animal native to the region. The individual who posted the image stated that the camera had been set up to monitor deer movement along a remote path. He claimed that the figure appeared late one night and only triggered the camera once, suggesting that whatever it was moved with enough speed to escape being captured by additional frames. The shape in the image, while indistinct, reveals broad shoulders, elongated limbs, and a hunched posture, traits commonly associated with reported sightings of mysterious creatures such as Bigfoot or the skunk ape, a creature said to roam the southeastern United States. The dense foliage and low-light conditions make it difficult to determine exactly what the figure is, but its presence has stirred curiosity and debate. Skeptics have suggested that the figure could be a person, a bear, or even a photographic artifact caused by light distortion and movement. However, the individual who shared the image insisted that no one else had permission to be in that area, and the sheer size of the silhouette ruled out most common explanations. Others have pointed out that the location of the sighting, in a heavily wooded and rarely visited area, has long been the subject of local folklore involving strange sounds, missing livestock, and eerie nighttime activity. With no definitive answer, the photograph remains a compelling piece of unexplained evidence, an image that fuels the ongoing mystery of what may still roam the secluded wilderness of southern Georgia. Massive V-shaped object seen during the blood moon. During a recent blood moon, a strange and compelling sight captured the attention of countless Californians, a large, V-shaped unidentified flying object that appeared over various cities in the state. What makes this event particularly fascinating is not only the sheer number of eyewitnesses, but also the photographic evidence that has emerged. People across Southern California have reported seeing the same object, with sightings clustered in areas like Orange County, Irvine, and Laguna Beach. The mysterious V-shaped formation seemed to defy explanation, standing out starkly against the backdrop of the night sky during the lunar eclipse. One witness, who was driving home with his wife and baby around 8:40 in the evening, described spotting the V-shaped object while heading north on CA 133 from Laguna Beach toward Irvine. He described it as a massive, symmetrical V-shaped cloud that seemed to hover motionless over the landscape. Unlike surrounding clouds, which shifted and dispersed in typical patterns, this formation held its position and form for nearly an hour. According to his account, the object was clearly separated from nearby clouds by a noticeable margin, as though it were displacing the air around it. He emphasized how both sides of the V were equal in length and width, giving it an artificial and precise appearance. His wife took several photographs using her phone, and with some basic lighting and contrast adjustments, the V-shape became even more apparent. Another witness also commented on the strange formation, noting that during the lunar eclipse, the V-shaped cloud seemed unlike anything he had seen before. Describing it as bizarre, he remarked on the cloud's rigidity and how it maintained its distinct form for over 30 minutes, resisting the fluidity and motion that characterized the rest of the sky that evening. He mentioned taking pictures of the phenomenon and compared it to something almost man-made, structured and deliberate in its shape. The appearance of this V-shaped object during the blood moon only adds to the mystery. Lunar eclipses have historically been associated with strange sightings and eerie occurrences, and this event appears to be no exception. Many who saw the object did not believe it to be a natural formation. Its size, symmetry, and ability to maintain form and isolation from surrounding clouds left a deep impression on those who witnessed it. Some have speculated it could be a cloaked craft or some advanced aerial technology, while others remain more skeptical, attributing it to an unusual meteorological phenomenon. However, the consistency of the descriptions, the geographic spread of the sightings, and the emergence of similar photographic evidence from unrelated individuals continue to fuel interest in the V-shaped UFO. As reports continue to surface and more people come forward with their stories, the mystery deepens. Whether an unexplainable natural occurrence or a glimpse of something more extraordinary, the V-shaped object in the skies of California during the blood moon remains one of the most compelling modern UFO sightings to date. The mysterious case of Antonio Villas Boas. Working as a farmer back in October of 1957, Antonio Villas Boas would go on to be one of the first reported encounters with mysterious entities. According to his report, on the night of October 15, 1957, Antonio and his brother were out working in their fields when they began to notice a bright red light in the night sky. Originally, they had believed the light to have been a form of aircraft, but then, as time went on, they assumed that given its stationary position in the sky, it was most likely a star they had never noticed before. They would finish a portion of the fields that night with no further incident. On the night of October 16, 1957, Antonio was out working in his fields without the help of his brother well after the sun had set once again, to avoid the scorching temperatures of the daytime. He was well equipped to work throughout the night, as he had done many times before, sitting on his tractor and ploughing his fields for the next few hours. Oddly enough, as Antonio was working, he then claimed to see the same bright red star as he witnessed on the previous night out in the distance. Although the bright red star was an anomaly, he wasn't too worried by it, as he and his brother had seen the red light the previous night, to which it seemingly displayed no strange patterns other than having moved a few times before. Unfortunately, Antonio was alone that night, without the aid of his brother, and so the situation would not be the same as the previous day. He continued to work, unsure of what he was seeing, keeping an eye on the strange red star seemingly unmoving across the sky, but appearing brighter and closer than the previous night. A few more moments passed before he began to notice that the red star was growing in size. Worried it could be any number of things, he quickly stopped working and looked over at the bright red light, trying to figure out what it could have been. He then began to realize that the bright red star wasn't growing in size, but that, rather, it was definitely some form of an aircraft quickly approaching his position. It was not long before he could make out the shape of the craft, a roughly circular or egg-shaped aerial craft with a bright red light at the front and a strange rotating tower protruding from the top, as the entire aircraft seemingly hovered without any visible mechanisms for propulsion. As the aircraft began to descend near the location of Antonio Villas Boas, it began to protrude 3 extended legs to support the craft as it landed in the nearby fields. After seeing the craft descend, Antonio put his tractor into gear and tried to leave the area as fast as he could. After only a few seconds, however, his tractor completely died, as all of the lights on the tractor shut off and its engine suddenly stopped. Believing the strange aircraft to have been responsible for this sudden shut-off, Antonio quickly jumped from the tractor and began running on foot through the fields, away from the landed craft. As Antonio was running, falling in and out of the soft, recently ploughed field, he was quickly captured by a small, 5-foot-tall humanoid creature wearing grey coveralls and a helmet. Though it's not specified whether or not the creature's helmet was that of a completely airtight system, or merely a protective gear worn on the head, Antonio does not specify that he was able to see the entirety of the humanoid's face that grabbed him. He only states that he noticed its eyes were small and blue, and that, as it spoke, it made noises similar to that of a bark or yelping sound. Shortly after the first humanoid seized Antonio, 3 more humanoids of similar description joined in and subdued him, rapidly dragging him inside of their aircraft as he fought to try to get away. Once dragged inside, the humanoid creatures then began to take Antonio's clothes off, as they then began to cover him from head to toe in a gelatinous compound. After being completely covered by the gelatinous compound, Antonio then described an overwhelming feeling of calmness that prevented him from fighting back, leaving many to assume that the strange compound had some sort of effect on his body. As he entered this new docile state, the humanoid figures led him towards a large semicircular room through a tight doorway that had a number of mysterious red symbols written all over it. It was at this point, when Antonio entered the room, that the true nature of the humanoid figures became obvious. The figures began to take samples of blood from Antonio's chin, leaving behind a deep mark that would later prove as evidence of the encounter, as the scar would last for over 2 years before properly healing. These figures then led him into a third room, where they pumped a large amount of gas into the chamber that made Antonio violently ill. As Antonio was gasping for breath, believing he would soon be taken out, he saw the main door into the chamber open with a naked female humanoid creature standing in front of him. The female humanoid creature was described by Antonio Villas Boas as being 5 foot tall, a height that was similar to the other beings he had encountered. The female humanoid also seemed to possess large, blue, cat-like eyes that made her appear to be inhuman. Additional facial features included a small, pointed chin. On her head, she had long, blonde hair and had visible hair on her underarm. Shortly after entering the chamber, the female humanoid then began to force acts on Antonio. When they were finished, Antonio describes a feeling of disgust washing over him as the creature began to rub her stomach and then point upwards. Following this experience, Antonio was then given back his clothes by the other humanoids and was given a tour of the ship. While taking this tour, he had attempted to steal a small clock-like device to show as proof of his encounter with the alien race, but was quickly caught by the creatures and was immediately escorted off of the ship. As the ship left, he quickly returned home to find that more than 4 hours had passed since the ship touched down, one of the strange side effects he would soon begin experiencing. Following the encounter, Antonio began showing signs of extreme radiation sickness. Unaware of what was happening, with growing lesions, nausea, weakness, and terrible headaches. He quickly sought help from a journalist researching these types of encounters and was examined by Dr. Fontes of the National School of Medicine of Brazil. Antonio had originally believed he had caught a form of disease, but was informed that he was suffering from a sickness caused by taking massive doses of radiation at one time. Such levels of radiation sickness would have been impossible to have been exposed to during this time in the 1950s, and would have required Antonio to have gotten hit by direct doses of radiation equal to the amount that would later be experienced at the Chernobyl incident in Ukraine, overwhelmingly proving advanced technologies had been within the vicinity of Antonio Villas Boas within the span of time he had claimed the event took place. However, despite this mountain of evidence that more than supports his claims of the strange event, Antonio would still go on to be ridiculed by those around him and would face a number of health issues following the event. Antonio would later go on to become a respected lawyer and even up to his passing would claim that what he experienced was completely factual and not at all a hoax. Disappearance of Emanuela Orlandi. Since her last sighting on June 22, 1983, following a music class in Rome, 15-year-old Emanuela Orlandi, the daughter of a Vatican official, has remained missing. In the theories surrounding Orlandi's disappearance, amateur investigators have accused various individuals and groups of being responsible for her disappearance, and despite the fact that the case has never been resolved and she has never even been located, disturbing new evidence has brought the case back to light. For the first time in over 35 years, a promising 2019 lead involving bones found in Vatican City that were thought to be hers appeared to be leading authorities in the right path, but investigators' hopes were soon crushed once more. Even now, the mystery surrounding Emanuela Orlandi's disappearance is still unsolved and unsettling. Although they lived in a small, close-knit neighborhood where their father was a powerful figure, Emanuela Orlandi's brother Pietro claimed that they had a Vatican upbringing and that they felt safest in the world. However, on June 22, 1983, their home turf proved to be anything but safe. She was studying the flute 3 days a week at a nearby music school, and that's exactly what she was doing the day she disappeared. She arrived in class and spoke with her sister afterwards, but she never returned home. Her last known communication with anyone was that phone call to her sister. The following day, Emanuela Orlandi was formally declared missing, and as soon as any tips came in, the inquiry was launched. Particularly, two tips, one from June 25th and another from June 28th, seemed to point investigators in the right direction. Referring to himself as Pierluigi, the first caller claimed to have seen Orlandi that day in Rome, and even gave specifics about her attire and flute that led detectives to conclude he was telling the truth. He continued by saying that Orlandi had told her sister that the girl, who was going by the name Barbarella, had fled from home in order to sell Avon goods. On June 28th, the second caller reported to the police that he had also met a young woman who had run away from home and went by the name Barbara. This man's account of seeing her at a pub close to the music school seems plausible. However, subsequent informants began discussing a plot involving the Grey Wolves, a Turkish organization, who was planning to take Emanuela Orlandi and then trade her for one of their own assassins who had been imprisoned for firing at the Pope 2 years prior. To explain what transpired, several explanations have been proposed. Considering the Vatican and its surroundings are a center of mafia and religious influence, those organizations are frequently viewed with distrust. The Banda della Magliana, a criminal organization with headquarters in Rome and commanded by Enrico de Pedis, is at the center of most mafia hypotheses. According to the notion, the syndicate determined that holding the daughter of a Vatican official hostage would be the best method to recover the vast sums of money they had borrowed to the Vatican Bank, but were not receiving in return. This theory has been bolstered by anonymous information to the authorities, and de Pedis' ex-girlfriend later went public with her accusation that he told her he had taken Orlandi. However, hard evidence is scant, and a police check of the gangster's grave, which one tipster had suggested might yield DNA evidence supporting the hypothesis, produced no results. There appears to be more evidence supporting the Grey Wolves idea. On May 13, 1981, Grey Wolf Mehmet Ali Aga attempted to take out Pope John Paul II in the Vatican by firing at him 4 times, but was apprehended right away. In the weeks after Orlandi vanished, a number of anonymous calls to the authorities raised the possibility that Orlandi was being held by Turkish militants with the intention of trading her for Agga. One scenario regarding the Orlandi case, and possibly the most unsettling claim, is that Emanuela Orlandi and other girls were taken by the Vatican. According to the Telegraph, the hypothesis goes on to say that these parties included foreign ambassadors as well. The accusation can't be completely discounted, though, because the source of it was Father Gabriele Amorth, the senior exorcist for the Vatican, and a man personally nominated by John Paul II. In an attempt to eventually solve this mystery, officials have pursued numerous leads and responded to a large number of tips in the nearly 40 years since Emanuela Orlandi vanished. Maybe the most thrilling tip of all was the 2019 letter that purported to indicate her final resting location. Early in the year, Laura Scrow, the attorney for the Orlandi family, got a very sinister note that included a picture of a tomb under the Vatican and instructions to look where the angel is pointing, referring to the marble angel that was watching over the crypt in question. The Vatican's top officials took notice of the anonymous tip, and spokesman Alessandro Gisotti intervened to handle the matter delicately. The fact that scientific examinations conducted on the tomb after the letter was sent indicated that it had been opened at least once recently enough for Orlandi's bones to have been hidden within, is what made this tip so intriguing. Scrow added that she had been able to verify that some people knew there was a chance Emanuela Orlandi had been hidden in the tomb in a letter to the Vatican. The fact that flowers had been left at the tomb site provided even more proof that anonymous individuals had been paying visits. Now, it was just a matter of searching the crypt to see if Emanuela Orlandi's remains were indeed within. The Orlandi family had previously had their hopes raised by an anonymous tip before the angel letter became public in 2019. The family most recently held its breath in unison when the Vatican found human remains on its grounds on October 2018, only to be disappointed to learn that the remains belonged to unrelated individuals. Regretfully, this occurred once more in July 2019 when no remains were found during the tomb search. Alessandro Gisotti, a spokesman for the Vatican, stated that the entrance to the tomb opened onto a large subterranean area that was completely empty and had no human remains. It was devastating news for the Orlandi family, who had spent nearly 40 years patiently and devotedly looking for the lost girl's remains. Pietro Orlandi, the brother, stated that he was relieved that Emanuela was not there, He also mentioned that his family has become accustomed to the illusions and disillusions associated with this pointless pursuit. Even so, it is nevertheless notable that the Vatican abruptly changed their mind about cooperating in this case, even if nothing was discovered. Pietro Orlandi claimed that after pleading with the Vatican several times to help with his sister's disappearance, he was positively surprised when they eventually acceded. It was suggested by Pietro Orlandi that the Vatican's denial of assistance amounted to an admission that there is a possibility of internal responsibility on their part. However, despite the Vatican's assistance, the case of Emanuela Orlandi's disappearance remains unsolved. The mysterious Beast of Gévaudan. In the rugged and remote wilderness of 18th century France, a shadowy figure stalked the countryside, striking fear into the hearts of villagers and leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. Known as the Beast of Gévaudan, this mysterious creature became the stuff of legend, captivating the imagination of the populace and inspiring a frantic hunt to rid the land of its terrifying presence. Yet, despite the efforts of hunters and soldiers, the true identity and nature of the beast remain shrouded in mystery, leaving behind a legacy of fear and fascination that endures to this day. A fearsome creature made rural areas of central France its hunting grounds between 1764 and 1767. The Beast of Gévaudan, who frightened the entire nation for 3 years by claiming the lives of both sheep and children, managed to escape from steel jaw traps and beats. On June 13, 1764, the panic started. A 14-year-old girl from the Ardèche village of Les Hubach was eaten by a ferocious beast on that exact day. There have been previous reports of wolf attacks in the Gévaudan, a large area of undulating hills and verdant plains that is home to 20,000 Canis lupus no less. But after that day, attacks on young cowherds or the daughters of shepherds were frequent. Fearful whispers began to circulate, attributing the cause to a hideous being, far larger than any other wolf, possessing lion's paws, horns, and enormous fangs. A hyena, a bear, a panther, or even a supernatural being was what several witnesses thought the object was, instead of a wolf. People still believed in werewolves, vampires, and ghosts at the time. Fearing for their lives, parishioners sought safety in nearby churches, where clergy prayed for God's pardon and advised them to reflect on their transgressions. Meanwhile, the toll among the impoverished children from the abandoned valleys increased gradually as the number of casualties increased. Urban stories and myths about the beast quickly emerged in the region, which had just seen plagues, hunger, and the devastation of the 7 Years' War. It was thought that the Gévaudan were likely cursed. Initially, the peasants reacted by keeping their boys and girls indoors till later. With the beast on the loose, it was no longer safe for kids to go on their own adventures. Their parents carried pitchforks, pikes, and rods as they wandered the countryside in groups. Some prayed for hours on end while on their knees. However, the most effective response was presumably provided by the municipal government, who in late 1764 authorized the installation of beats and traps. By winter 1764, the first soldiers appointed by the king, a group of mounted infantrymen known as dragoons, had arrived in the area at the request of the intendant of Languedoc. Unfortunately, they were unable to function properly due to the thick amounts of snow. They started hunting again in early 1765, but their efforts eventually proved fruitless since the beast was always able to get past their nets and traps. The wolf's appetite seemed unabated and it became more brazen. It attacked 7 Villaret youngsters, ages 8 to 12, on January 12th. Nevertheless, the children overcame all obstacles to force the beast to flee while the adults were unable to. A royal scholarship subsequently helped one of the youngsters participating in that valiant deed, and he went on to become a lieutenant in the Royal Artillery Corps. It even infuriated King Louis XV himself. If someone could bring him the creature's head, he would reward them with £6,000, the equivalent to £433,000 or $512,000. The best wolf catchers in the nation grabbed their weapons and silver bullets and headed towards the monster-infested forests of Gévaudan, but they were once more unsuccessful, and while the negative news was causing unease and fear throughout the region, phony reports mocking French incompetence were published in British publications. The legendary hunter François Antoine the king's designated gun-bearer, was the only person who appeared to be able to put an end to the creature's terrifying reign. The reputation of Antoine was fierce. As soon as he arrived in Gévaudan in June 1765, he studied maps and tracked footsteps. After weeks of relentless beats, on September 21st, his squad took out a large animal. The creature measured 3 feet in height, 6 feet in length, and 140 pounds in weight. The embalmed body was sent for Louis to view, and Antoine was overjoyed and confident that he had defeated the notorious Gévaudan monster. Regretfully, the subsequent days validated his assertion. 3 weeks later, attacks returned with increased ferocity. In the aftermath of the beast's demise, speculation about its true nature and origins continued to swirl, with theories ranging from the plausible to the outlandish. Some believed it to be a lone wolf or pack of wolves, driven to desperation by hunger and habitat loss, while others speculated that it may have been a rare and undiscovered species of predator native to the region. Yet, despite the countless theories and conjectures put forth over the years, the true identity of the Beast of Gévaudan remains a mystery, lost to the mists of time and the fog of legend. An ancient encounter with extraterrestrial technology. In the annals of ancient texts, the Book of Ezekiel stands out as a testament to the mysteries of the divine and the unexplained. Among its many strange passages, one in particular has captured the imagination of scholars and believers alike. Ezekiel's vision of a wheel within a wheel, described in vivid detail in the first chapter of the book. While traditionally interpreted as a divine vision, some have speculated that Ezekiel's encounter may have been an early account of a UFO sighting, offering tantalizing clues to the possibility of extraterrestrial contact in antiquity. The passage in question describes a remarkable vision experienced by the prophet Ezekiel while he was in exile in Babylon. In it, Ezekiel describes seeing a whirlwind approaching from the north, followed by a great cloud with fire flashing forth continually and a brightness around it. Within the cloud, Ezekiel sees 4 living creatures, each with 4 faces and 4 wings, and beside them, a wheel that sparkled like beryl. As Ezekiel continues to describe the scene, he provides intricate details of the wheel's appearance and movement, noting that it had a wheel within a wheel and that its rims were full of eyes all around. He describes how the creatures moved in perfect synchrony with the wheels, their movements resembling that of lightning flashing back and forth. The description is so vivid and detailed that it has led many to speculate about its possible origins and meaning. One interpretation that has gained traction in recent years is the idea that Ezekiel's vision may have been an early encounter with advanced extraterrestrial technology. Proponents of this theory point to the striking similarities between Ezekiel's description of the wheel and modern depictions of UFOs, noting the wheel-like shape, the presence of lights or eyes around the rim, and the description of the beings associated with it. Furthermore, the idea that the wheel had a wheel within a wheel has led some to speculate that Ezekiel may have been describing a form of propulsion system similar to what we would associate with a spacecraft. The presence of the living creatures and their seemingly coordinated movements also suggests a level of intelligence and intentionality that is difficult to explain within a purely terrestrial context. Supporters of the extraterrestrial interpretation also point to other passages in the Bible that they believe may describe similar encounters with advanced beings or technology. While the extraterrestrial interpretation of Ezekiel's vision remains controversial and speculative, it offers a fascinating glimpse into the intersection of ancient religious texts and modern research. It challenges us to reconsider our understanding of the past and the possibility that ancient peoples may have had encounters with beings or technologies beyond their comprehension. The Aurora, Texas UFO incident. Aurora, Texas, saw a mysterious UFO scream out of the sky in April 1897. It blew up into flames when it struck a windmill on Judge J.S. Proctor's property. Numerous local residents would be present to see the incident, and could confirm that the craft was destroyed, as well as that the pilot was an extraterrestrial. The Dallas Morning News published a report on the incident on April 19th. It has been reported that the funeral did in fact occur. Additionally, the pilot's burial in the Aurora Cemetery was identified with a straightforward headstone. It stayed there for more than 70 years, until Bill Case, a journalist for the Dallas Times-Herald, became interested in the story and started looking into it. He said he had found the burial. In addition, test results indicated the presence of a little coffin beneath the surface of the soil. However, the gravestone had inexplicably disappeared by the time Case started the process of excavating the burial. He would find the marker's location, but the grave itself disappeared, and there was nothing left to examine. Case didn't take long to place the blame for this squarely at the feet of the US government. The mysterious London Monster. 100 years before Jack the Ripper, there were reports of the London Monster, and researchers have suggested that this individual would inspire Jack the Ripper. In the late 18th century, the streets of London were gripped by fear as rumours spread of a mysterious assailant terrorising the city's populace. Dubbed the London Monster, this shadowy figure was said to lurk in the shadows, targeting unsuspecting victims with a series of bizarre attacks. From whispered rumours to sensationalised newspaper reports, the legend of the London Monster captured the imagination of Londoners and sparked widespread panic as authorities struggled to apprehend the perpetrator and bring an end to the reign of terror. The first documented attack attributed to the London Monster occurred in 1788, when a woman named Anne Porter reported being attacked by a man wielding a sharp instrument in the vicinity of Drury Lane. According to Porter's account, the assailant had approached her from behind and impaled her before fleeing into the night, leaving her injured and traumatized by the sudden and inexplicable attack. News of the incident spread quickly, sending shockwaves through the community and raising fears of a potential attacker on the loose. In the months that followed, reports of similar incidents began to surface across the city, with individuals describing encounters with a mysterious figure who would approach them on the street before launching a sudden and unprovoked attack. The attacks were characterized by their randomness, with individuals suffering injuries ranging from minor cuts and bruises to more serious wounds requiring medical attention. Despite efforts by the authorities to track down the individual, the London Monster continued to elude capture, leaving a trail of fear and uncertainty in his wake. As panic swept through the streets of London, the public became increasingly obsessed with uncovering the identity of the elusive individual and putting an end to the spate of attacks plaguing the city. Speculation ran rampant, with theories ranging from the supernatural to the political, as Londoners struggled to make sense of the seemingly inexplicable attacks. Some believed the London Monster to be a deranged individual acting out of sheer malice, while others speculated that he may have been motivated by political grievances or personal vendettas. The sensationalized nature of the attacks only served to fuel the hysteria, as newspapers seized upon the story, publishing lurid accounts of the monster's exploits and stoking public fears with sensational headlines and graphic illustrations. In an era before the advent of forensic science and criminal profiling, the hunt for the London Monster relied largely on eyewitness testimony and circumstantial evidence, making it difficult for authorities to discern fact from fiction amidst the frenzy of speculation and rumour. Despite the best efforts of the authorities, the identity of the London Monster remained a mystery, with no conclusive evidence ever being found to link any specific individual to the attacks. In the absence of a suspect, the public's imagination ran wild, with theories ranging from the plausible to the outlandish as Londoners grappled with the uncertainty and fear surrounding the elusive assailant. In the end, the London Monster was never caught, and the attacks eventually ceased as suddenly as they had begun, leaving behind a legacy of fear and intrigue that continues to captivate the imagination of historians and true crime enthusiasts to this day. While the true identity of the monster may never be known, the legend of his reign of terror lives on as a cautionary tale of the dark and shadowy side of urban life in 18th century London. Great Amherst Mystery. The modest Nova Scotian town of Amherst became well known worldwide in the autumn of 1878 as a result of a string of unexplained paranormal occurrences that would later be dubbed the Great Amherst Mystery. When the bizarre event started, 18-year-old Esther Cox was residing on Princess Street in Amherst with her sister, Olive Teed, and Olive's little family. Sharing a bed with her younger sister Jenny, Esther was startled out of a sleep one night by something she initially believed to be a rodent under the mattress. They returned to sleep after discovering nothing in the bed, but every night the situation got worse. Before long, Unusual banging and noises could be heard throughout the house, and objects were flying through the air. When Esther woke up, she was twice her normal size and moaning in agony. She was scraped and jabbed with needles by Esther's ghosts. Many observed fires being ignited and an unidentified hand making scratches in the wall over her bed. Numerous Amherst locals saw these events, and articles about them quickly appeared in newspapers around North America. After learning about the tale from a theatrical tour of Eastern Canada, Walter Hubbell, an American actor interested in disproving paranormal claims, made plans to stay with Esther and her family in March 1879. Hubbell recorded all of Esther's experiences after coming to believe that her account was true. He organized a tour through New Brunswick and Nova Scotia, telling her story while she sat on stage, her audience members holding out hope that her ghosts would materialize. The pair's tour came to an abrupt end when one very boisterous group chased them out of town after the spirits failed to materialize. But that July, Hubbell released his version of Esther's tale, which went on to sell 55,000 copies. Esther was plagued by paranormal powers, even after the novel became well known. Eventually, she was evicted from the Teed home and placed on the farm of a family outside of Amherst. She was accused of arson and given a 4-month jail sentence after claiming that her ghosts destroyed the family's barn. She went to see a First Nations medicine man after being freed, and he exorcised her demons. She refused to discuss the paranormal experiences she encountered for the remainder of her life. After 2 marriages, she moved to Brockton, Massachusetts, where she passed away on November 8, 1912, at the age of 52. Much of the story's popularity in paranormal circles can be attributed to Hubbell's book. Published nearly 150 years ago, it has never been out of print. A testamentary documentary attested to the veracity of the narrative by several Amherst residents was inserted in later editions. In the aftermath of the events in Amherst, numerous theories were put forth to explain the phenomena, ranging from the plausible to the outlandish. Some suggested that the disturbances may have been caused by natural phenomena such as seismic activity or electromagnetic disturbances, while others speculated that Esther may have been a medium or channel for supernatural forces beyond her control. Despite the countless theories and conjectures put forth over the years, the true nature of the great Amherst mystery remains elusive, lost to the passage of time and the fog of legend. The Lake Anjikuni disappearance. Lake Anjikuni in Canada's extreme north can be a harsh environment. The lake, which is half covered in snow and ice throughout the year, is a part of a network of waterways that the Inuit people in the area used for commerce and fishing to support their settlements. The Inuit lived in a number of settlements along the lake shores, which served as both a welcoming retreat for fur trappers and a staging area for their daring journeys far north to pursue caribou and beaver. However, around 1930, something happened to one of the settlements that is still unknown. In 1930, a news reporter from the Pass, Manitoba, wrote about a tiny Inuit settlement near Lake Anjikuni. As a well-known fur trapper in the town, Joe LaBelle stopped at the settlement while traveling through the area and found that everyone had departed. According to the narrative, Joe LaBelle found an abandoned camp with 6 tents, but no trace of the 25 men, women, and children who had been there. Numerous versions of this tale have been told, and a wide range of theories, from the implausible to the absurd, have been proposed to account for the disappearances. On a chilly November day in 1930, Canadian fur trapper Joe LaBelle was meandering around Anjikuni Lake in the Northwest Territories. After hearing about an Inuit settlement nearby, he went to the village to look for a place to stay, only to discover it completely abandoned. The villagers were totally unprepared for whatever had occurred. He found food draped over fire pits and partially finished clothing with needles still in them throughout his search, but he found no signs of violence or strife that would have explained the people's absence. LaBelle discovered 7 sled dogs still attached to their posts as she passed through the village. They had all perished from starvation. It would have been virtually unimaginable to abandon these dogs, who would have been essential to the community's survival. However, LaBelle discovered something even more terrifying on the outskirts of the community. Someone had lately dug up a human burial. LaBelle realized it couldn't have been an animal because the stones surrounding the grave were intact. This had been done by a human. After alerting the Northwest Mounted Police, they began looking into the disappearances. However, the village's residents were never found again. It was as though they had disappeared. The lost Inuit boats would not have been battered by wave action if the lake had been frozen at the time, among other inconsistencies he pointed out in the original story. Even more strange details are added in later stories. 3 trappers who spotted a UFO in the area are mentioned in Nigel Blundell and Roger Bohr's book, World's Greatest UFO Mysteries, along with other claims like 1,000 people going missing and entire cemeteries full of excavated burials. The Inuit had been missing for almost 8 weeks before LaBelle's arrival, the police team later discovered, but they were never able to ascertain why the entire tribe had fled the area. In an even more peculiar turn of events, Royal Canadian Mounted Police investigators reported witnessing mysterious pulsating lights in the sky above Lake Anjikuni. Northern Canadian skylights are not uncommon. The search and rescue team found lights that were nothing like the breathtaking natural phenomenon they were used to seeing, despite the fact that the northern lights are a gorgeous sight that can be seen from even the most remote parts of the nation. The lights they saw pulsating and blue in the horizon were not the northern lights. Like the remainder of the enclosure, the lights were never explained, and no connection to the vanished inhabitants was ever made. Nonetheless, a number of researchers conjectured in the latter half of the 20th century that the villagers might have been the hapless targets of one of the biggest UFO encounters in recorded history. The premise is both fascinating and disturbing, even though the evidence for it is, at best, anecdotal. As of right now, the Lake Anjikuni disappearance stands as one of the most baffling and enduring mysteries in the annals of unsolved cases, defying rational explanation and confounding investigators for decades. Whether the result of foul play, supernatural intervention, or some other unknown force, the fate of the missing villagers remains a haunting reminder of the fragility of human life and the mysteries that lie hidden in the remote corners of the world. As long as the true fate of the villagers remains unknown, so too will the legend of the Lake Anjikuni disappearance continue to captivate and intrigue those who dare to delve into its strange depths. In the annals of UFO research, few events have sparked as much intrigue and speculation as the revelations made by military personnel about unidentified flying objects. For decades, accounts of encounters with mysterious aerial phenomena have emerged from the shadows of secrecy, often dismissed or disregarded by mainstream discourse. However, a notable shift has occurred in recent years as courageous individuals from within the military have stepped forward to share their experiences and insights, prompting a reassessment of humanity's relationship with the cosmos. Retired Army Sergeant Clifford Stone stands as a prominent figure in the realm of UFO investigation. With a distinguished service record as a combat veteran in the Vietnam War spanning over 2 decades, from 1968 to 1990, Stone was a vital member of a clandestine special operations unit assigned to retrieve debris from crashed UFOs, extraterrestrial technology remains, and other unearthly artifacts. Furthermore, Stone revealed startling claims that extraterrestrial beings have been visiting Earth in highly sophisticated spacecraft, capable of traversing vast distances in space within incredibly short timeframes, far exceeding the limits of our current understanding of technology and interstellar travel. During his initial deployment, he was stationed with the NBC team, responsible for handling nuclear, biological and chemical matters at the Fort McClellan Army Post in Alabama. Throughout his regular duties, he remained dedicated until a significant shift occurred when he was summoned for special retrieval operations. Strikingly, he was absent for a week from his usual tasks, as the military called upon him for UFO retrieval missions. Intriguingly, his official military service records were tampered with, intentionally omitting any mention of his involvement in UFO recovery missions, and instead portraying him as a mere typist, concealing his crucial role in these confidential operations. Stone effectively substantiated his arguments by revealing the presence of confidential initiatives like Moondust and Blue Fly. These projects were specifically designed to conceal the remnants of unidentified flying objects through the utilization of Freedom of Information Acts, thereby concealing any evidence related to such phenomena. In a detailed analysis of an Air Force intelligence correspondence referred to as the Betts Memo dating back to 1961, Sergeant Stone successfully unveiled crucial information to the broader audience. It disclosed that Project Moondust encompassed the capacity to swiftly deploy competent field intelligence personnel for the retrieval or on-site investigation of unidentified flying objects. This revelation sheds light on the military's proactive approach towards dealing with UFO incidents and the strategic deployment of skilled personnel for efficient response to such occurrences. The insights provided by Stone's examination of the Betts memo underscore the seriousness with which the military was addressing the phenomenon of unidentified aerial phenomena. Stone gathered authentic UFO-related documents from his time in the military through the Freedom of Information Act. These catalogues serve as concrete evidence of his involvement in UFO crash retrievals, further corroborating his claims of being part of such operations during his military tenure. Stone's meticulous research and acquisition of these classified materials not only validate his experiences, but also underscore the credibility of his accounts. By delving into the archives and unearthing these valuable records, Stone has substantially fortified the foundation of his narrative, offering compelling insights into the covert world of UFOs. Stone mentioned in past interviews that during his time in the military, he was under surveillance by an unidentified individual referred to as Colonel, whose official rank remained undisclosed to him. This colonel accompanied Stone to sites of crashed UFOs and conducted debriefing sessions with him. Stone recalled being granted access by the colonel to peruse a detailed manual, 3 inches thick, that contained comprehensive data on 57 different varieties of extraterrestrial biological entities that were within the knowledge of the military. This encounter revealed intriguing insights into the secrecy surrounding UFO phenomena and the extent of the government's awareness of extraterrestrial life forms. The individual mentioned that numerous species bore resemblances to humans, albeit with slightly larger eyes characterized by black irises. His account elaborated that extraterrestrial beings exclusively communicated through telepathy, possessing the ability to delve into and understand thoughts and emotions. In 1973, there was an incident involving Stone, where he played a part in recovering a downed, unidentified flying object. Following his retirement in 1989, he discreetly concealed a tiny metallic fragment from the UFO within his shoe and proceeded to bury it in the vicinity of his estate located in the states of New Mexico and Nevada. In his account, he said the following: "Morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Clifford Stone. I was a Sergeant First Class United States Army. I had a secret clearance with nuclear surety. I could get the clearance that I needed to do whatever it was necessary for me to do at the time on special operations when I was called in on those. What I'm referring to here is that I was involved in situations where we actually did recoveries of crashed saucers. There were bodies involved with some of these crashes, and also some were alive. While we were doing all this, we were telling the American public there was nothing to it. We were telling the world there was nothing to it. I'd like to go into detail on some of the nuts and bolts cases right here. But I will be available if you have any questions concerning my involvement in this. You can talk to Dr. Greer to arrange for me to get to talk to you. But the whole situation is, we have setbacks. We've told the American people that there's no such thing as UFOs. I've been involved where we have recovered these objects. We know them to be of extraterrestrials. In 1969, I had an event that happened to me while I was stationed at Fort Lee, Virginia. We went to Indiantown Gap, Pennsylvania, and that would be my first exposure to any time that we would be recovering an unidentified flying object. When we went there, we already had people that were in the facility with a backup team, which was supposed to be NBC because there were supposed to be some nuclear materials that were on board this craft. Later on, most people involved were told that there was nothing on board. UFO crashes are not events that take place every day. They're rare. I know we're not alone in the universe. I know that the absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. It's evidence that has been denied to the American people. I stand before you today and my Almighty God, and I tell you this: if the Congress calls me in and says, "Will you testify in detail what you know?" I stand here today prepared and ready to do just that. Governments must never lie to the people for no reason. Thank you. The mysterious Petrozavodsk jellyfish UFO sighting. In the early hours of a September morning during the late 1970s in the Soviet Union, a period marked by the persisting tension of the Cold War, the inhabitants of a quaint Russian township were stirred from their slumber by an unusual sight. Gazing skyward, they beheld a mysterious light traversing above them. Gradually, this luminous anomaly transformed into a peculiar jellyfish-like entity, emitting mysterious beams of light towards the earth below. Astonishingly, remnants of its visitation, tangible evidence of its existence, were left behind, further mystifying the bewildered onlookers. The event unfolded against the backdrop of a geopolitical era rife with suspicion and intrigue, intensifying the intrigue and speculation surrounding this unexplainable phenomenon. The event stands out as one of the most captivating UFO sightings documented in history. Despite numerous proposed interpretations, many UFO researchers still consider this incident a mystery. The fact that it took place during the intense backdrop of the Cold War, with its endpoint a decade away, adds an extra layer of fascination and complexity to the scenario. This mysterious encounter continues to puzzle experts, fueling speculation and debate within the UFO research community. The circumstances surrounding this event, occurring amidst the tensions of the Cold War era, have contributed to the enduring intrigue and strange nature of this unresolved phenomenon. In the early hours of September 20th, 1977, around 4 a.m, as documented by Michael Heseman's records, a peculiar and extraordinary phenomenon unfolded in Petrozavodsk. Numerous Petrozavodsk residents, particularly those preparing for their morning routines, were astounded by a truly extraordinary occurrence. As reported by the reputable newspaper, Pravda, an incredibly luminescent entity resembling a gleaming jellyfish hovered prominently over the city of Petrozavodsk. The report detailed that the unidentified object moved at a leisurely pace, emitting beams of light onto the city. It further described the scene as having thousands of beams, resembling a downpour of rain. As time passed, the object altered its luminosity before departing towards Onesko Lake. The comprehensive analysis in the report delved into the intricate details, providing a thorough account of the slow-moving nature of the object and the luminous effects it created on the urban landscape. In the initial moments, the residents were startled by an unusual aerial phenomenon that caught their attention. They observed a peculiar object descending in a spiraling pattern, resembling a glowing ball of fire, which immediately sparked curiosity and astonishment among the onlookers. What perplexed them even more was the unexpected deceleration of the object, ruling out the possibility of it being a meteorite. Gradually, the enigmatic object came to a halt, hanging motionless in the sky directly above them, maintaining a stationary position for approximately 5 minutes. During this eerie pause, a disturbing sound emanated from the unidentified craft, described by witnesses as a chilling siren-like howl that sent shivers down their spines. Suddenly, the haunting noise ceased, signaling a shift in the object's movement as it resumed its course, gradually advancing towards the central hub of the town, leaving the bewildered spectators in awe and uncertainty. The object, as observed receding, was characterized as a reddish-orange hemisphere encircled by a luminous zone. Within this zone, numerous twinkling points of light akin to stars were discernible, flickering and vanishing intermittently. As it distanced itself from the initial cohort of observers, it exhibited a slight pulsating motion, accompanied by the emergence of an indistinct cone-shaped beam of light from its underside. Subsequently, a second beam became visible, both beams lingering for several moments before fading away. This intricate description captures the gradual transformation and behavior of the object, portraying a captivating spectacle that left the witnesses intrigued. Subsequently, there was a hint of heightened drama. As the unusual phenomenon in the sky caught the attention of a growing number of individuals, numerous slender rays of light, likened to thin arrows, descended from above towards the earth. Shortly after this occurrence, a sudden wave of alarm swept through the spectators, who had been observing with a mixture of curiosity and mild apprehension until that moment. The radiant beams seemed to pierce the atmosphere delicately, creating a mesmerizing yet unsettling spectacle that captivated the onlookers. The swift descent of the luminous rays added an element of mystery and awe to the already intriguing display unfolding above. In the aftermath of the startling event, numerous individuals initiated a frantic dash back indoors in a frantic search for protective refuge, driven by their assumption of an impending assault. Simultaneously, some individuals threw themselves to the ground in a swift and instinctive response. Within the local community, there was a rising sense of unease and commotion in the immediate aftermath of the incident, as whispers circulated among the residents, suggesting that what unfolded before their eyes signaled the imminent approach of a potential American nuclear strike. As the spectators continued to observe the spectacle, their apprehension gradually gave way to curiosity, allowing them to discern more intricate details. The entity now resembled an immense jellyfish, spanning approximately 300 feet in diameter, adorned with radiant golden tentacles that emitted an array of captivating hues. Additionally, they could perceive a distinct curvature in the peculiar beams of light, resembling the graceful extensions of a jellyfish or the sinuous limbs of an octopus, adding to the mysterious nature of the phenomenon. This heightened observation led them to appreciate the intricate beauty and complexity of the surreal sight before them, unraveling its mysterious allure with each passing moment. In a report, authored by journalist Nikolai Milov, it is intriguing to note that numerous individuals appeared noticeably unwell in the immediate aftermath of the incident, with this unwell appearance persisting for hours thereafter. Several eyewitnesses, in conversations with Milov, asserted that they sensed a peculiar sensation akin to an electric current coursing through their bodies when the arrow-shaped lights materialized. This phenomenon captivated the attention of many observers, prompting them to share their experiences and observations. Extending beyond just physical distress, the impact of the event seemed to linger, leaving a lasting impression on those present. In a peculiar turn of events, the areas where these mysterious lights made contact with the ground and occasionally window ledges exhibited uneven cavities. Furthermore, a few observers vividly remembered the unidentified object descending to an even lower altitude. Once more, the object came to rest, now positioned a brief stroll from the harbour. As it drew nearer, its luminosity intensified, reaching a level of brilliance that forced numerous observers to partially cover their eyes to behold it clearly. This phenomenon prompted a sense of awe and intrigue among the witnesses, captivating their attention with its radiant glow. The proximity of the object revealed intricate details that were previously obscured, casting a captivating spectacle that demanded respect and admiration. Suddenly, the situation took an even more peculiar twist. Multiple inhabitants in the area observed a spherical object separating from the primary spacecraft and gliding above the rooftops of the nearby residences and structures, resembling a reconnaissance undertaking. This activity persisted for a considerable duration before the object retreated back to the main craft. Some individuals who witnessed the incident reported that it vanished into an aperture located on the underside, potentially hinting at the possibility of it being a remotely operated aerial vehicle. The scenario involved the detachment and subsequent reattachment of a bulb-shaped entity to a larger vessel, leading speculators to consider the potential use of advanced technology or unmanned aerial devices in the observed event, adding a mysterious element to the sighting. Based on the accounts provided by Yuri Gromov, who serves as the director of the meteorological station in Petrozavodsk, the mysterious object gradually transformed into the shape of an elliptical ring before resuming its movement. It proceeded towards a cluster of clouds situated in the proximity of Onesko Lake. While entering the clouds, it left in its wake a peculiar red void, almost as though the clouds had been scorched, and this anomaly lingered visibly for a few minutes. This occurrence was described in detail by the aforementioned expert, shedding light on the unusual behavior of the object as it traversed through the atmospheric conditions. Gromov's observations offer a unique perspective on this phenomenon, indicating a distinct series of events that unfolded during the object's passage through the sky. Upon further scrutiny, subsequent inquiries would reveal the absence of any documented presence of aircraft traversing the airspace above the town on the specified evening. Gromov categorically refuted the possibility of it being attributed to ball lightning or any other meteorological anomaly. This thorough examination indicated a complete lack of aerial activity during the said period, leading to the exclusion of potential natural atmospheric occurrences as explanations for the observed events. Gromov elaborated on the phenomenon by suggesting that the unidentified object could potentially be classified as either a UFO, a manifestation of advanced intelligence complete with both crew and passengers, or a manifestation of energy originating from a UFO. Consequently, Gromov seemed to imply that the event witnessed by hundreds, if not thousands of individuals on that autumn evening, defied any conventional natural explanation. In essence, he contended that the incident was beyond the realms of typical earthly occurrences, prompting speculation about extraterrestrial or otherworldly origins. In the aftermath of the incidents in Petrozavodsk, the news agency was inundated with more than 1,500 letters from the public expressing their concerns. A predominant sentiment among the correspondents was deep apprehension regarding the event and the potential for its recurrence, raising significant doubts about the safety of the local residents. Moreover, some individuals pondered the possibility of heightened radiation levels in the region following the occurrence. The sheer volume of correspondence received by underscored the widespread unease and fear prevalent among the populace regarding the implications and aftermath of the Petrozavodsk events. Upon conducting retrospective inquiries, it becomes evident that a significant number of these issues were not officially documented or reported. Despite the existence of correspondence in the archives pertaining to these matters, it has come to light that authorities within the government imposed restrictions on the news agency, preventing any additional coverage on the subject. In fact, explicit instructions were given to ensure that there would be a complete absence of any further discussion regarding the peculiar occurrences of that fateful night. This suggests a deliberate effort to suppress information and maintain secrecy surrounding the events that transpired. Behind the veil of secrecy, a group of scientists was tasked with conducting a covert inquiry into the event away from public scrutiny. As time progressed, the details of this investigation gradually surfaced to the general public, particularly gaining momentum following the collapse of the Soviet Union in the early 1990s. This leaked information shed light on the incident that had initially been shrouded in confidentiality, marking a significant shift in transparency and awareness surrounding the event. During the time of the incident, a well-informed publisher named Vasyl Zakharchenko, known for his extensive government connections, sheds light on intriguing details. According to his account, the holes observed in the ground and windowsills were approximately the size of a typical coin. What piqued curiosity even further was the observation that the holes in the windowsill had caused the nearby glass to melt, a phenomenon both unusual and captivating. In a particular factory, one window exhibited such an unusual distortion that authorities intervened by removing it for a thorough examination and analysis, underscoring the mysterious and potentially significant nature of the event. In a lecture delivered by Dr. Ajaja towards the end of 1981, observations were made regarding not only the glass beginning to exhibit signs of melting in several locations within various properties, but also a notable distortion noticed in the window structures themselves. Upon closer examination using an electron microscope, researchers identified a peculiar occurrence of a crystalline structure on the surface of the non-crystalline glass, a phenomenon that defied conventional scientific understanding. Upon analyzing the data from this investigation, some experts concluded that the most logical conclusion was that the entities being studied were displaying signs of being active. The implications of these findings challenged existing scientific beliefs and sparked further inquiries into the underlying nature of these unusual occurrences. Despite the lack of definitive answers, the Petrozavodsk incident remains a compelling case study in the study of unidentified aerial phenomena. Its enduring mystery continues to captivate the imaginations of researchers and enthusiasts alike, prompting ongoing efforts to unravel the truth behind the mysterious jellyfish UFO sighting.